Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into a real classic, Robert T. Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This book, it's really built around the story of his two dads. You've got his biological father, highly educated, but, always struggling with money. And then there's his friend's father, the quote-unquote rich dad.
Yeah.
And the book uses their, totally different philosophies to look at how we think about money, school, investing. It really challenges a lot of standard ideas.
Exactly. And our mission today really is to pull out the key insights from that story. We want to look at how those different viewpoints can, well, basically change your whole financial outlook, maybe give you a new way of thinking about building wealth.
Yeah, because so many of us here, work hard, get good grades, find a safe job, save money. That's the standard path, right? But Kiyosaki calls that the poor dad way. How does he sort of flip that script?
Well, right at the core, it's this massive contrast. You have the poor dad mindset, very focused on job security, the paycheck, formal education is the main route. And then the rich dad mindset, which is much more entrepreneurial, focused on investing, constantly looking for ways to acquire things that generate income, assets. It's just a fundamentally different way of seeing the financial world.
Okay, and that idea of assets versus liabilities, that's probably one of the most famous parts of the book, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's huge and simple, but powerful. An asset, for Kiyosaki, isn't just something you own. It has to put money in your pocket. Think rental properties, stock dividends, that kind of thing. Income generation.
Right.
A liability, then, is anything that takes money out. So car payments, credit card debt. Controversially, he often includes your primary residence here if it's just costing you money. And that distinction, it really forces you to rethink your big purchases. Wealth comes from piling up those income-producing assets, not just,
Yeah.
Stuff.
That reframing is, really powerful. But he also takes aim at traditional schooling, saying it doesn't really prepare us financially. What's his take there?
Yeah, he hits hard on that. He basically argues that financial education is like this massive blind spot in the school system. Schools teach academic stuff, professional skills, sure, but the actual financial literacy needed for freedom, often missing.
So how do we get it then?
Well, that leads to another big idea. Work to learn, not just to earn. He suggests looking for jobs, maybe early in your career, that teach you valuable skills. Things, sales, marketing, understanding investments, negotiation. That knowledge, that practical financial education, he argues, is way more valuable long-term than just a slightly bigger salary right now.
Okay, so learn the skills, understand assets.
hmm
How does that translate into action in his view? It seems heavily focused on entrepreneurship and investing.
Exactly that. It's about moving beyond just relying on a salary, trading your time directly for money. The book strongly pushes building passive income, finding ways to make money even when you're not actively working.
Like what kinds of things?
Starting a business, investing in real estate that generates rent, building a stock portfolio that pays dividends. Basically, building systems that work for you.
It's definitely a compelling vision, and it's obviously struck a chord with millions. But like any big book, it gets its share of criticism too, right?
Oh, for sure. One common critique is that it's great on the why and the mindset shift, but pretty light on the specific how-to.
Yeah, you don't get detailed investment plans or anything.
No, exactly. It's mostly principles, philosophy.
hmm
And related to that, some find his critique of formal education a bit, well, maybe overly harsh or too generalized.
Right. And what about the story itself? People sometimes question if the rich dad was even a real person, don't they?
That's a recurring point, yeah. Because it's presented as semi-autobiographical, there's been debate about how factual the narrative is, or the rich dad is more of a composite or archetype.
Does that matter, you think, for the lessons?
Well, that's the interesting part. Many readers would argue that whether the story is literally true or more allegorical, the core financial lessons about assets, mindset, financial literacy, those still hold up and are valuable on their own.
Okay, so pulling it all together.
Look, I think Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a fantastic starting point, especially if you're younger or just beginning to think seriously about personal finance. Its real strength is shifting how you think about money, work, and building wealth. It's powerful for anyone wanting to move from maybe just an employee mindset towards thinking like an owner or investor.
Yeah, despite the criticisms, you really can't deny its impact on changing people's basic perspective on money.
Absolutely. So maybe a final thought for you listening. Just take a moment and consider your own foundational beliefs about work and money. Are they serving you? Could shifting that core mindset like Kiyosaki explores maybe unlock some financial possibilities you haven't really considered before?